Bugle Royal Irish Constabulary revolver, white Foreign Service helmet. This is a Snyder Enfield. It's a 2-band artillery carbine, the Oliver pattern water bottle, bandolier, carrying the Swinburne Henry carbine.
Here on the Redcoat History YouTube channel, we often talk about the battles of the Anglo-Zulu War, Isandlwana, Rorke's Drift, Gungundlovu and all the rest. But what we haven't covered and what we're putting right today is the uniforms worn by those brave redcoats, the kit that they carried and the different weapons they had other than the Martini Henry. Well, today I'm joined by Tim Rose and a number of other experts from the Victorian Association. They're going to talk me through exactly what those men would have been wearing, but also, more than that, they have worn this kit a lot, and they're going to tell us what was good, what was bad.
Robin and I have probably spent more time in this uniform than anybody at Isandlwana, other than the guys who are buried there.
So comment below when you're done, let me know what sort of things you think of this kit, which ones you might have tried, what weapons you might have fired, and also what you think of living history groups like the Diehards and others. If you're interested in joining these guys, stay tuned to the end to find out how. So can you just talk me through the kit you've got on today and what everything is?
Right, I'm actually a line officer from the 24th Foot. Certainly there's extant provenance that a number of the officers wore basically stripped down other ranks kit. So the frock I'm wearing, and we wear a working jacket called a frock, is actually, if you see it, exactly the same as the other ranks lads, but taken all the ornamentation off of it. I've got silver collar dogs on as opposed to the brass ones because I'm carrying a bit of rank, but the rank stars would have been worn there in full dress. We're not wearing those. White Foreign Service helmet, dyed down, either with mimosa bark or cattle dung or tea. This is best quality South African rooibush. And you've got things like the belt buckle, which identifies your specific regiments. That's the 24th Foot. As infantry officers, we're carrying the 1845 pattern sword. Mr. Dix, if you drop in as well, please. Mr. Dix is in wearing the blue patrol of the period, and we're carrying our own sidearms. Mr. Dix hasn't got as much tin as I have, so he's actually carrying the Mark III Adams revolver, which is quite a big beast. This would have been in 450 and carried as an issue to drivers, to artillery men, anybody who was carrying a revolver, and some officers carried them. However, if you've got a bit more luxury item, you carry things like this, which is the Bugle Royal Irish Constabulary revolver, private purchase, again in government cartridge, but it gives you a better weapon. It's lighter with a better sighting picture.
And they're six shot?
6-shot side loading. It's not like the early break top Webleys. They come like that in the 1880s, but by the 1870s, we're still in the gate loading. Officers did have a degree of leniency in terms of what kit they have. So although I'm carrying the Oliver pattern water bottle, and we'll talk about that when we talk about other ranks kit in a minute, Mr. Dix is carrying what was known as the India soda bottle pattern. Basically, you got a choice. You can have a manky old wooden thing that's probably got beeswax, all manner of issues about drinking out of it, or a nice clean bit of glass. Mr. Dix obviously doesn't want dysentery on the trail somewhere.
So with the beeswax, that probably would have melted in hot climates and...
Potentially, yeah, potentially.
And what would that mean?
It means you ain't got any water. That's the bottom line. Best case scenarios, it would possibly taint it. Worst case scenario is it would just leak around the seams and drip down the bottom of your leg. This holds about a pint and a quarter of water.
Which in hot climates is not even enough for half the day, really, is it?
No. If you put it in a modern context, the people who played in the World Cup in South Africa needed probably about 6 to 8 of these to rehydrate after 90 minutes of playing football. So just quickly, guys, just to let you know, as you can see, I'm back in my man cave in South Africa. I've left London, but I had a fantastic time at the Clash of Empires exhibition where I filmed with Tim and the guys. If that's your cup of tea, it is still going on. It's on until the end of July at the Royal Philatelic Society. The link is in the description below and on screen right now. If you're interested as well, I'm also selling these fantastic t-shirts. If you have a look on the back, I've got my logo. There's lots of other designs. Those links are also in the description below. They're on Spreadshirt, they're on Redbubble. Any purchases really help the channel to grow because I want to keep pushing these stories. I want to make British military history fashionable again. And private access is in the standard image we see If you look at Fripp's painting of Isandlwana, all the lads who are there are fighting in this kit. He's wearing the 1871 valise equipment, 2 large pouches on either side of the man's body. In there, 20, 40 rounds of ammunition.
So 20 in each?
20 in each, yeah. Another 10 rounds can be opened and put into the expanse or ball bag. On the march, that would sometimes be worn on the small of the man's back, but for immediacy, it's used there. And another 10 rounds would be in the haversack there.
And could this vary from man to man, or this was standard?
That was the standard issue. So if you were going out, you'd be carrying 60 rounds on you, plus another 10 rounds in your valise. And my opinion is that if you're going to go into service, you drop in your valise, some of the wagons, you ain't going to leave 10 rounds of ammunition in there. As a good company officer, you'd be saying, and get your extra 10 rounds in your haversack. So he's in basic order from there. Drop back, we'll bring forward Private Anthony in full marching order. So again, you can see the same 71 configuration, but this time with the added braces. These are added to actually help hold the whole thing together and give it a bit more bearing, because obviously this is fine when you're fighting. Think of it like the Bergen. You know, you're carrying all your kit on the back of a Bergen, but you don't wear it into battle. You drop it. The valise is a similar concept. So about turn, please. And we're carrying just the rolled greatcoat cape, and in there is mess tin. That's a 3-part mess tin. It's got an inner lid, and you eat out of it, you drink out of it. It's your sole container to look after yourself on active service, in an oilskin cover from there.
How comfortable or uncomfortable is it?
It's like any bit of kit. If you have a choice, you won't wear it. But reality is probably it's workable. I think our hottest day in South Africa in 2019 was just under 42 degrees. We were in it for the whole day. You're warm, but you're not sort of going flaky over it. As long as you rehydrate, the biggest problem you have, which is the standard problem for the British soldier at the time, is the gaps in the place. So particularly between the bottom of the collar there and the hairline, although this gives some shade, you actually can burn there, which is why we know as the rednecks, because that's where we get our problems.
And can you move quickly in it? If you need to deploy quickly, are you able to?
We did some experimental archaeology. I think we timed, the lads ran from the hospital to the biscuit barrel barricade at Rorke's Drift, and they did it in about 6 or 7 seconds, wasn't it? Yeah. So you can move in it. It's not uncut. It's not burdensome.
Because it's interesting, because I think one of the things a lot of people say is, oh, you know, it must have been really hot, really difficult to move. But actually, by the sounds of it, this uniform wasn't that restrictive.
The uniform ain't restrictive. What's restrictive is the terrain.
Yeah.
So you can move, but you can't necessarily move at massive speed. You've been across Sandwana, we've been across Sandwana. Some of the dongas, not the big Durnford's donga and the big deep dongas, the proper dried water beds, but just the little water courses. You suddenly go and you find you're dropping a foot, 18 inches, cross that and out again. It's not difficult to do, but it slows you down. It's not like rolling hills. You can just walk across it. We have one of our mounted infantry over here. Chelmsford had particular problems with his ability to have cavalry. He had no regular cavalry units out there. What he did have was a number of volunteers that he could call in that were mounted, but he also embodied the mounted infantry sections of his various battalions. And the central column had an Imperial Mounted Infantry section. And our infantryman here for the 24th is as a mounted infantryman. Basically the same kit, except he's wearing bandolier, carrying the Swinburne Henry carbine. The Martini Henry carbine didn't see service in Zululand until the second invasion. It wasn't even in the list of change at the first invasion. And he's wearing obviously the cord breeches.
And what can you tell us about this carbine? Could you give us a little brief run over it?
Yeah, the carbine is virtually the same in, it's in a 4.5, 5.77 sort of configuration. It was sold by Blakemore, who were the contractors, and a lot of the Natal units carried them. The Natal Native Horse carried them. While we're talking about things like weaponry, if our two infantrymen come forward, One of the things that, again, we haven't touched on is the secondary arm of the British infantrymen, which is the bayonet. And the Zulus, we were the first people who actually crossed cold steel with them. They gave the accolade of killing a British redcoat the same as that of killing a lion. First and second battalions, obviously one went out in 74, the other in 77. So again, it's another bit of debate of the Zulu War of exactly what bayonets they carry. I will get our infantry to both fix bayonets down, please. And you can see, if you just drop them back to these, that's lovely, great. You can see there's a slight difference in the length of the bayonet. This is the original 1853 rebushed for the Martini, obviously built originally for the three-band Enfield and then fitted to the Snyder. Both those rifles were slightly longer, they come up to about here, so you add that bayonet on, it gives you a 6-foot reach. The Martini Henry being shorter, it was decided to give them that extra bit of bayonet to give you that 6-foot distance between you and the enemy. So in 1876, going from 17.5 to 21.75 inches of triangular steel, the 1876 Lunger bayonet.
And am I right in thinking, and again, I know this is probably open for debate, but the 1st Battalion lads would have had the bushed bayonet, 2nd Battalion possibly the Lunger bayonet there?
That's how I would perceive it to be. Who knows? Right, if we drop back from there, we'll just bring forward our drummer, our bugler, and in homage to a number of internet debates about drummer boys and the various articles that have been written about them, we've included a bugler today. Our bugler is carrying a drummer's sword on the side there, so it's just a short stabbing sword. That's all he's carrying as a weapon.
That's their only weapon.
That's the only weapon for self-defence. And the other difference with our bugler is he's actually wearing the Glengarry with the 24th Foot's Glengarry badge. So we've moved away from the 24th, and we'll just bring forward a couple of others. Army Hospital Corps Waller here is basically in for one reason only, partly to point out that not everyone wore red. There were a number of people who wore blue uniforms, and also because he's carrying, in this case, a yataghan. The yataghan, Army Hospital Corps were given all manner of obsolete bits of kit. You sometimes see them right into the 1890s carrying the 1842 Lancaster bayonet, but we've equipped our chap with a yataghan bayonet.
A yataghan?
Yataghan, yeah. It was, I think it's Turkish originally, but the idea being with a muzzle loading weapon, you have that curved edge, so you aren't going to, because if it's straight, you're going to do your knuckles. So that curve gives you that bit when you're muzzle loading. Used, like I say, on the Enfields, rebushed for the Martini, primarily used as a badge of rank by sergeants. So your line infantry sergeant would have carried that as his badge of rank. So when you see Bob Hoskins doing his bit at Zulu Dawn, he's carrying a Lunger, he should actually have one of those. While we're talking about obsolete or older weapons that were issued, we also have here a little 2-band Snyder. Again, as I said earlier, the Martini Henry carbine didn't find its way out to South Africa until the second invasion. This is a Snyder Enfield. It's a 2-band artillery carbine. And the Snyder Enfield, if you haven't seen it before on any of the channels, it's a cheap and cheerful conversion of the old P53 Enfields. So what you're doing is you're actually just taking a door hinge and giving you that open action. So instead of muzzle loading, you then drop a cylindrical cartridge into there. These would have been, 2 of these would have been on the limbers of the artillery limbers as they were getting out of Salwana. The field gunners would have carried a yataghan bayonet as well, possibly the 1875 sword bayonet, but more probably the yataghan in a steel scabbard, as this would have been a primary weapon of self-defence. Other people like the Army Service Corps would have also been issued with them, and Snyders were quite popular either in the cavalry version or the 3-band version for volunteer units as well.
And presumably you've shot all of these weapons. How do they sort of stack up against one another?
I think probably they all have their advantages and disadvantages. The Martini does let you know that she's there. She will give your shoulder quite a thump if you don't hold her properly, and you do have to treat her with a bit of respect. The other problem with the Martini is, and all of us will have attested at various times, that if you don't get the lever right, she will pinch you and get a blood blister. The Snyder is more gentle, it's more of a roll rather than a kick, because it's a larger round over in the bore, and it's a gentler weapon to fire. But at the end of the day, they're large caliber rifles. You know, that's what they're designed to do. They aren't there for the soldier's benefit. They're more about what you're doing to the person at the other end of it.
So how do you guys keep growing? Are you looking for new recruits? How can people get in touch with you?
So we're always looking for new recruits. The Victorian Association is formed of several different reenactment societies throughout the UK. We're based all over the country, and we do events all over the country and all over the world. If you like what you've seen in the video today, visit our website, victorianassociation.co.uk, send us an email, get in touch, come and join us.
So if this was your cup of tea, guys, and you want to keep learning about British military history, the battles, the campaigns, the men involved, their kit, their uniforms, then please do subscribe. I'm going to try and post most Fridays. After a bit of experimentation, I think I'm going to give Fridays a try. It seems like a good day to post. Let me know in the comments if you think that sounds good. I probably won't manage every week because I do have a full-time job, but the dream is to make this my full-time job, to keep pushing these stories, to bring British military history fashionable again. It's a hard ask, but I'm going to try my best. And coming up in the next few weeks, I've got a number of good stuff getting back into the Indian Mutiny. So if you like Victorian military history, you really want to stay tuned for that. In the next episode, we're looking at the brutal siege and massacre at Cawnpore. Really fascinating, but quite gruesome and sad stuff, if I'm being honest. We've also got some more upbeat stuff. I'm interviewing Brad Manera from the Anzac Memorial in Sydney. He's a great guy. I met him at the Clash of Empires exhibition, and he's going to be explaining to me all about the most famous painting of the Anglo-Zulu War, showing me all its secrets. All right, guys, keep in touch, comment below, and I'll see you soon.